my 6 top favorite books that I've read that I felt was the most impactful in my life. Now, I'm going to go into these books. They're not in any specific order, what's the most powerful or the number one read. I'm just going to go through them with the top 6 that I feel are the life-changing for me and explain why. Matter of fact, if you guys have a book that you felt has been the most life-changing book for you, do me a favor, drop it in the comments. Also, if you read one of these books I go through today, tell me what is your favorite section of that book that you like the most. So number 1 on my list is called The New Psycho-Cybernetics. That was written originally by Dr. Maxwell Maltz and then forwarded by Dan Kennedy. In this book, it really talks about how we have the ability to control our mind at any state and to produce any kind of result that we want. So one of the things that I learned going through this program was that we can literally talk ourselves into a state of success. And if we could just like dream it and visualize it and see it, that we can move down that path as long as we take extreme action to move that way. So for example, when you think about Major League Baseball players, or maybe they're in basketball or whatever it might be, and they're sitting there practicing free throws, but it's kind of going through the motions, or swinging the bat or whatever they might be doing. They're not hitting the ball, but they're visualizing it in their mind. And they can see their body swing. They can see the mechanics of it. They can feel almost like the weight of the bat in their hand or the basketball as they go to throw it. When we can link a strong foundation in our mind of seeing success, the things that we're going to accomplish, the things that we're going to do, we get to a point where we begin to believe it and we start moving down that path and we actually achieve it. The problem is most of us grow up with this mindset of like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not great enough. I'm not whatever it is. And because of that, it's like this work order, like they talk about in this book, gets set into place and it stops dead in its tracks. And then you don't take action going past that because of these beliefs that we have. So New Psycho-Cybernetics was the first book I dove into that talked about the psychology, which was a huge impact. All right, the next book is called The 4 Agreements. And I love this book. This is written by Don Miguel Ruiz, I believe his name is. If I got that wrong, I apologize. But he wrote this book called 4 Agreements. I think he has a book called The 5th Agreement now, which talks about, they always talk about this one word. When I started reading this book, he kept saying the one word. This one word will change you. This one word will change you. And I was like, what is he talking about? One word. And then it kind of sunk in as he went through the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, like just anything, that one word can really affect us. So if someone said you have cancer, that changes your life. If you are told that you have ALS or you're told that you have diabetes, it destroys your life, because what happens is you look at it, you believe what these medical doctors are saying, you go down the path to seeing all the damaging side effects behind this and what's going to happen to you and how long you have to live if you have cancer and all this stuff, and your life deteriorates super fast just because you heard the word cancer say, or diabetes or ALS, because our mind goes down that road of supporting what we were just told we have. So when we start to learn that we can actually view it a different way and see it a different way, the power of our mind can control a lot with our life. So The 4 Agreements is definitely a really good book. Predictably Irrational by Dan O'Reilly is my 3rd book, and that's one of my favorites also because it talks about how predictable we are in the things that we do. One of these lessons in this book, I'll give you an example, and if I get the alcohol content wrong, just bear with me, you understand the philosophy of this. He was talking about a college pub and how they were doing a test to see how individuals would respond based on knowing information beforehand, knowing it before they do it, and then knowing it after the fact. And here's kind of the moral of the story. They had a college campus where kids were coming in, they're getting alcohol. There was 2 containers of alcohol. One was Budweiser and one was Budweiser with every ounce of alcohol, I'd say like balsamic vinegar in it, right? And I can't remember if it was Budweiser or what it was, but it had balsamic vinegar. I do remember that. And they had them taste test it without knowing what is in it, okay? And all of them picked the actual balsamic vinegar additive to the Budweiser mixture. They didn't know what it was. They just picked that one because that one tastes the best. Then they came back and did another group of kids coming through it, and they told them ahead of time what was in their glass. And they said, this one's Budweiser and this one's Budweiser. Again, every ounce of Budweiser's 2 drops of balsamic vinegar. And all the kids decided to pick the one without it because the thought of balsamic vinegar in their beer just sounded nasty. Matter of fact, most of them would start to put their mouth and make this grimacing face because of thinking about what it would taste like in their beer. Then the 3rd study, they came back and did a blind taste test again, just like the very first study. They all picked the balsamic vinegar beer. And then at the end, they told them what it was to see if they changed their mind. And all of them stuck with it. So right there just shows that when we can get information beforehand, during, or after, it can actually ultimately change the outcome of the information we get. And during this, it also talks about how we take action in buying things, or how we pick things, or how we do things, how we make choices. And it gets to that point when you read through this book, you can almost predictably tell what other people are going to do because you start to see the pattern of the way we do things. So that was also a very good book of mine. Number 4 is The Perfect Day Formula by Craig Ballantyne. He actually has a book called The Perfect Week Formula now. This was a very impactful one to me, and here's why. Because I was in a mastermind group with Craig Ballantyne years ago. Matter of fact, it was like 2008. And Craig was not the most disciplined and structured person. Matter of fact, I can remember going to mastermind groups, and he would show up the next morning having a little hangover. Now, I hope, Craig, if you're watching this, you don't take this offensively. It's just, I remember that from these mastermind meetings, just show up, you're hungover, your hair's kind of a mess, that kind of stuff. And for some reason, kind of like the new psycho-cybernetics, Craig decided that he was going to shift his mindset, say, I am the most disciplined man that there is. And then all of a sudden, he became that person. He was the most disciplined person. He wrote the book, The Perfect Day Formula, The Perfect Week Formula, and he becomes very disciplined. And now Craig is a wholly different person. I've seen him actually grow in everything that he's done. So if you guys get a chance, read The Perfect Day Formula. It's a very good book. Matter of fact, there's a 3C formula that I want to share with you guys that he shares in his Perfect Day Formula, which is you're going to control your mornings so you can conquer the chaos of your afternoon and concentrate on what's most important in the evenings to you. So when you think about it, for example, I get up early mornings every single day because I want to conquer my mornings. I want to get things done right away, get it out of the way so I don't have to deal with it anymore. And that controls that chaos that we usually hit in the afternoon. And then I can just focus on being home with family and spend time with them. But before I read this book, I was kind of opposite. I actually would get up in the mornings. I would kind of take my time, not really work real hard, slough off during the day. And then by the evening, when it's time to go home, is when I'm trying to now catch up for everything I should have done all day long. And then I'm left working longer before I go home and spend time with family. So I got less time with family. But now that has changed, and that's exactly what I saw with Craig Ballantyne. Matter of fact, I actually purchased his book because I saw the change in his life more than actually the philosophy of what the book said. Because when I saw him change, I knew it was something I need to make a change in too, and I jumped on the bandwagon. So the 5th book is Living with a Sill. So Jesse Eiser hired a Navy SEAL to come live with him for 30 days and put him through rigorous training and all this kind of stuff to train for running and stuff. And during this book, he never wanted to reveal who the SEAL was, which in the long run found out to become David Goggins, who wrote the book Can't Hurt Me. And I think the other one's, the newest one he has is Unfinished or something like that. So in this book, though, it's just a really motivating story to hear Jesse Eiser go through all this stuff. The funny aspect of this book, talking about when he's getting ready to go for a meeting and Navy SEALs make him do a burpee test and all this stuff. If you guys want a very comical but very strongly motivating book, that's this one right here. And then my last book is going to be Make Your Bed by William McRaven. And he was in the military. He did a graduation speech. Most of you guys probably heard this before. But he talks about how the most basic things that we do in life really matter, because how we do everything in life is based on how we do the smallest things in life. And that's the truth. When we take the littlest things that we have in life and we don't put any emphasis to them, we actually do that with the biggest things too. If we can't work hard and really dial things in with the smallest components of our life, how are we going to make the big ones work then if that's the case? So this is one of my favorite books on Make Your Bed. And, he's talking about this theory about making your bed. He's talking about how there's crisp sheets and how the folds in the sheets were and all this kind of stuff. And he's talking about how if you can do the most basic thing of making your bed every morning, it's like you already gained yourself a win, okay? And then the rest of the day, you just keep doing that and you gain more wins as the day goes on. So these are my top 6 books. So I want to know, what are your favorite books? What's the top books that you've read? Put those in the comments and maybe tell me a little bit just about what you liked about it. What was a turning point in your life by reading that book that helps transform your life? And I'll be glad to see those comments. See you guys later.